AfroTales Podcast is a part of the Connected Podcast Network. Chef. Yes, Cleo. Don't you love how we get to share our stories and recipes? Yes, I enjoy it greatly. Do you know what makes it possible for everyone to hear us? Yes, Cleo. Our voices, obviously. True, but it's also Anchor, a hosting platform that distributes the podcast to places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. Oh, yes. And isn't everything needed to make a podcast in one place? That's correct. And the best thing of all, Chef, it's free. Free, you say? Free. And all I had to do is download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So, you just had to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Yep. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and do what we're doing now. Fantastic, Cleo. Simply fantastic. I know, Chef. I know. Ahoy, my friend, and welcome aboard the AfroTales Podcast, a ship that will carry us from location to location, exploring the tales that grew from the African diaspora in the Americas and the Caribbean. I am Amon Mazinga, your teller of yarns. As we head out, a particular yarn for each location will be spun. Come, sit with me, and enjoy this journey. Old John and the Panther. Old John, been stealing Master's hogs. Old Master said to him, "John, somebody been stealing my hogs. I'd give $1,000 to know who done it." "Master, it must have been a bear. I'll go catch him." So the next day, Old Master missed another hog. "John, I done missed another hog. You ain't caught him yet?" "Master, I'm going to catch that bear for you." So that night when John went out to get him a pig, and there was a panther after him. A pig. John said, "What you doing down there after Master Pigs?" So the panther took after him. John run around and around the crib, and the door were open, and John run under the crib, and the panther thought he went in, so he darted in after. John shut the door and ran to the house, called his master up. He asked, "What is it, John?" "I caught that thing been stealing your hogs, master." "What was it, John?" "It was a panther. What you do with him?" "I put him in the barn." "Oh, go on, John. You ain't caught no panther." "I'll be damned if I didn't caught him." His wife said to him, "Get up and go see. John wouldn't cuss before me that way if it wasn't something." So he went and looked. Sure enough, there was a panther. So he went around the next day and told all his neighbors about it, what his boy John did. So they didn't believe it. So, "I'll show you what John did, and he'll go get him and bring him out." So they betted so many thousand on John. His master betted his plantation and all his slaves. Then he told John, "Now, John, you go in and get him and bring him out, and I'll set you free." John kept standing around the crib there, and old master kept urging, "Go on and get him." John say, "Master, wait till I get fixed." And then he went in. As John opened the door, the panther leaped out at John and struck his head against the facing and broke his neck. John seen that and grabbed him and wrestled him. "Oh, I got you. You vomit? I'm bringing him out, master. I done broke his neck." "John, I ain't mean for you to kill him." "Well, you should ought to said that before." Well, master won the bet. One man says,
I bet you $1 million. I know as well wild man John can't handle.
I'll bet you $1 million John can whip him. Now John knew where the fighting grounds were going to be. He goes down and cuts the roots of the oak tree. So the next day when the fight was to come off, John was to ride his master's horse down, and so he took and cut the bridle reins. So when he pulled up, it would break. So the next day went down to the fighting ground. It was late when John come. The men said that betted against John.
Look like John ain't coming.
Yes, John will be in a few minutes directly.
Here comes John, just what he said would come down on the horse. He reared back on the bridle reins and they broke. That wild man looked. John jumped down. John looked around and said, "Look at here, master. Is this the fighting ground?"
The master told him, "Why, yes, John. What's the matter with it?"
"What's the matter with it? Can't you see there ain't enough room around here to move around in? We better clear it off a little."
John began to grab up the trees by the roots and toss them around. The wild man looked on and scared right off. John won again for his master. So he gave him $1,000 and set him free. The end. For your bonus track, the story before John and the Panther. Old John and the Bear. During slavery time, old master had a cane patch, and the bear used to come stealing his cane. One night, master seen him himself. He had John along with him. So John says, "Master, you gonna like me to kill that bear for you?" "No, John. You might get hurt, and I don't want you all hurt up. You know I think a whole heap of you." The next night, old John goes down there after the bear, unbeknownst to old master. He had never seen a bear up close and didn't know how strong one was. That bear grabbed John, and he was wearing him out to this world till John broke his hold and put it off to the big house hollering, "Oh, master, master," at every jump. Round and round that house, John with the bear right behind him. Old master heard the ruckus and looked out and saw the bear and shot him. Just as soon as he done that, John come running in the house and said, Master, did you see that fine bear I brought you?" "Why, John, I just killed that bear. I seen running around the house." John made out he was so sorry.
"Oh, master, you didn't kill my bear, did you?"
"Why, yes, John. Why?"
"Why, master, I had done conquered that bear and was bringing him up here to the house to be a plaything for your children."
The end. Wow. So, okay. These two stories have me dying, right? Because you got old John fighting the panther, and you got old John wrestling a bear. And oh my God, I love them. So obviously the story one, old John fighting a panther, and then getting into the fight with the wild man. And basically, he ain't win neither one of those fights. The panther killed himself, and the wild man got scared because he set up the fighting ring. And I didn't know, because these stories are written by two totally different people. But it definitely reminds you of Jean Bertie, the champion, right? Now, Jean Bertie, the champion, we know comes from Haiti. These two stories that I read to you today
came from slave tales. Now, the writer or the person that collected these stories is Zora Neale Hurston. And I don't know if she took any liberties with these stories, because they're supposed to be from a slave, a former slave, maybe a story that was passed down from generation to generation. So I don't think she took any liberties. I just think the synchronicity of the fact that you have Jean Baptiste and you have old John both doing miraculous things and both being champions in that sense when it comes to fighting another person, when it comes to wrestling a man at the end of both of their stories, both creating a situation to where they're going to be, they're not going to be messed with. You have old John with the bridle reins and the trees, and you had Jean Baptiste with the trees. And are these old African stories that have passed down through slavery and came to the ears of these writers that were able to compile these stories? Now, we know Zora Neale Hurston went to Haiti at a point in her research and has written books about Haitian zombies and everything like that. But I find it that she collected this story in this particular book, and Harold, I can't think of the name, that the guy Harold collected the stories for his book, and they are so similar, right? So similar. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, old John and the Bear, that's just another one of those things. And I love the fact that he's running away from the bear, and then when the master shoots the bear, he's like, oh, I brought that up there for your kids to play with. Sir, children should not be playing with bears. I'm sorry, they should not be playing with bears. But I love that. The ability for slaves to think on their feet so well. If this is a true story, amazing. If not a true story, just amazing to show, as you pass the story down from generation to generation, the wit of African Americans, people that have been enslaved. These stories are told for survival, and they just show time and time and time again how they're able to survive through story. And if you don't feel that, especially this month, I know it's Pride Month, but like I told you before, on AfroTalesCast, on this AfroTalesCast ship, this is the monthly anniversary of Juneteenth. I don't give it one day. This is our Freedom Month, and these stories are examples of what we did while we were enslaved, and they were gathered after we were freed. And now you get to have them. Old John and Master Tales are famous. If you want to check them out yourself, please go find them. They're out there free to read, and these are tales told by slaves to help slaves. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Go see Chef. A lot of soul food is going to be on the recipes this month. And until we meet again, as always, have a blessed day. Welcome, my friends, to the Galley. I am your chef, and today, inspired by the story you have just heard, we are going to make some of Mama's rum cake. This is a dish from the infamous Miss Mildred Council, or Mama Dip. Now, what will you need for this recipe? Easy. 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1½ cups unsalted butter softened, 1½ cups of granulated sugar, 2 cups of vanilla extract, 3 large eggs, 1 large egg yolk, 3/4 cup or 6 ounces of gold rum, such as Bacardi Gold or whatever kind of gold rum you prefer, 3/4 cup of heavy cream. For the rum syrup, you will need half a cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of granulated sugar, half a cup or 4 ounces of gold rum, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, how do you put this meal together? Like this. First, we will prepare the cake. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Generously coat 10 to 15 cup burnt cake pan with cooking spray and set it aside. Stir together the flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, and salt in a bowl and set aside. Now you will beat butter, sugar, and vanilla in a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attached on medium speed until lightly fluffy. Or if not, you may have to use a regular hand mixer. Not everyone could have a stand mixer in their house. So do this for about 4 minutes with a hand mixture. It may take a little longer. Add eggs one at a time, and then the egg yolk, beating well after each addition. Reduce mixture speed to low. Gradually beat in the room. Add flour mixture to egg mixture in thirds. Alternatively, with heavy cream, beginning and ending with flour mixture, beating on low after each addition. Transfer batter to prepared burnt pan, smoothing the top. Bake in preheated oven until golden brown and a wooden pick inserted in center comes out clean. This should take roughly 50 to 55 minutes. Cover loosely with aluminum foil for about 30 minutes to prevent excess browning. If needed, remove from the oven. During final 10 minutes of the baking time, prepare the rum syrup. So you will melt the butter in a saucepan over medium heat. Add sugar and 1/4 cup of water. Let mixture come to a boil. Stir occasionally until syrupy. About 5 minutes should be fine. Carefully add rum and vanilla. Mixture will bubble. Boil. Stirring often. 1 minute. Remove from it. Using a wooden skewer, poke the warm cake in pan all over. Spoon 3/4 cup of the rum syrup evenly over the cake. Let stand for 10 minutes. Invert into a cake stand. Spoon remaining rum syrup about half a cup evenly over the top. Let cool at least 20 minutes or up to 8 hours before serving. And my friends, that is it. Now you have a wonderful southern rum cake. Now, go do what you do. Bake this cake if you so choose, and let me know how it comes out. And until I have another recipe for you, remember old John and his fairy companions. And until next time, as always, enjoy.
My friends, we are here, and I want to thank you for coming out here on this voyage with me. Thank you for doing what you do and giving me the time to get to this point. I want you to join me in thanking Art by Chalet. I want to also join me in thanking those who create the sound effects and music on freesound.org and Free Music Archive. I want you to share this journey with your family and friends so that way they can be blessed just as you are. If you want to leave a comment or a review so others can learn about this voyage, please do so wherever you can. All other ways to support and contact me will be in the show notes. So please go there, check it out, and do what you do best and be you. Again, thank you. And until next time, have a blessed day.